Hey guys, Nathan at Duck River Honey. It is April the 3rd, and I'm trying to get through all of my hives this afternoon and just do the needful on all of them. I wanted to talk for a second about splits. My last video was talking about being forced to split bees for swarm control, which is not something I want to plan on doing. I'd rather have bees that more fit, their growth pattern fits my nectar flow and the timing. So I'd like a little bit slower bee than what I've got. But especially for new beekeepers, knowing when you need to split a hive is pretty tricky and a little intimidating. So I wanted to talk about that for a second, and also the plan for after you split a hive and what I'm doing. There's as many ways to do this as there are beekeepers, so just take that with a grain of salt. This is what I'm doing, and I'll tell you the reasons why I'm doing it. So the first two hives in this row, I split the first one today because they had queen cups. And the progression goes like this. First, you get a big population. You open the hive up, you've just got a lot of bees. And then you start seeing drone brood. So, a lot of times they'll put drone brood in between the frames. They'll cram it at the top of the frames or the very bottom of the frames. If you've got foundationless comb, they will make drone brood anywhere they want to. So you'll see drone brood after a big population, and then they will start putting in queen cups. If you tip the boxes up, you'll see queen cups on the bottoms of the frames, and those will be facing downward. The next progression would be eggs in those cells, royal jelly in those cells, larvae in those cells. And if you see that, if you see wet cells and lots of them, that hive's definitely planning to swarm. Later in the year, if they don't swarm, they can reuse those queen cups to supersede their queen. They can do that, but this early in the season, that they're probably not going to. Where I'm at right now is sugar maple just came into bloom. I've got one in my yard. The bees are roaring in it. You can stand under it and hear them. It's pretty cool. Redbud is blooming. Dogwood is blooming. I've got some Kiefer pears that are halfway through bloom. They've got leaves out already. Some oaks are just starting to come in. And red maple's been going for a while. There's still some of those that are going. So we're still very early in our progression. So after you see queen cups and you see wet queen cups, then you would see capped queen cells. And by the time you see capped queen cells, there's a good chance that hive has already swarmed, because they'll generally swarm within a day or two or three of those queen cells getting capped. And that's the progression. So with my schedule, I've got to work bees on the weekends or when I have time away from work. So if I come through and I see a hive with a really big population with a lot of queen cups, I'm probably going to go ahead and split it, because I know I'm not going to be able to stop them. And what I'm doing, splitting them, is I'm generally taking a drawn comb but empty honey super, putting that on the bottom and raising two brood boxes up on the top and splitting them with this double screen. So they've got an entrance facing backwards. Now the top of this is going to get depopulated because all the field bees are oriented to this entrance here. So a lot of bees are going to fly out and then they'll come back to there. So the bottom gets stronger, top gets weaker. I'm actually not looking for the queen when I do these splits. I do want to know where she is though. So I'll come back on my next inspection and pop the top, look in the top portion. If they seem normal, then I'll check for eggs. If the top portion roars at me really loudly, then that's an obvious sign that they're queenless. So I find out where the queen is at, in the top or the bottom, and then I wait 3 weeks generally to see if the queenless part returns an emergency queen. These are walkaway splits I'm doing. I don't have queen cells or anything. So at that time, I've got a decision on what I can do. If they return a mated queen, I can pull that nuke off with the new queen, take it to my new bee yard. I can generally take just the top part, even if it's got the old queen in there, just because it's easier to get to. Take it to my new bee yard and evaluate the sizes on both hives. My main nectar flow is not until the end of April into May and June. So I've got some time to feed bees if I need to stimulate growth and get the populations built back up for the honey flow. So I'll evaluate populations when I make that move. That's just sort of the timing. 3 weeks after I do the split, I need to know which one was queenless. I need to check it for queen right. If I've got a laying queen in there, I can do a couple of things. I can either move it or I can recombine it. If it's right in the honey flow, you can actually recombine those, and that new queen, the young queen, will generally go down and kill the old one, and you can have a colony and a half. Bob Benny talks about doing that in some of his videos. It's a really neat concept because you get a new queen out of it, but you keep your hive numbers stable, and you've got a lot of bees to go out and make honey. So there's a lot of things you can do, and I'll probably do a lot of different things this year. So I'd say this hive is probably on track. They've got burr comb but no drones yet between these top two boxes. They probably got some drones below that. Good population but not huge. I'm going to go ahead and put a super on here. And I've got to say one thing on excluders. I've experimented with and without excluders this year, and I think my current working opinion is that I've put excluders on too early in the year. We don't have enough nectar flow to get the bees interested in collecting honey and not interested in swarming. So early in the season, I prefer to not use excluders. Just stack boxes, let the queens go where they want to, expand the brood nest and all that stuff. I would prefer to use excluders to keep my drawn honeycomb clean of brood, but I think I'd have to do it later in the year, maybe when black locust starts blooming and we start getting into some major nectar flows. I could put excluders on then, but right now I think I need to let them expand as much as possible. It's my current working opinion. So this hive is one that I split 6 days ago. And I'm going to pop in here really quick and try to tell which half the queen is in. So that'll be handy information to know. Population is decreasing in this top portion. That is what I would expect. But the bees seem calm. They're pretty quiet. So it wouldn't surprise me if the queen is in here. Hopefully we'll find out. Yeah, I just smoked these bees and they didn't roar at me. It's usually a pretty good sign. Polished cells, some larvae, no eggs. There's the queen. All right, that is all I need to do on them. And I mean something by that. that I'm not doing a good job of explaining. One of the reasons I want to know where this queen is if she's in the bottom and she got that field force returning from the top, and I don't give her enough space, and she feels like she's got too many bees, this bottom could still swarm before this top even returns a mated queen. So I actually prefer to have the queen in the top because she loses field force and gets weaker, so she's probably not going to swarm. The bottom's almost certainly not going to swarm because they're going through a brood break. They've got to make a new queen in an emergency situation or a walkaway split. So in this one, I need to come back 3 weeks after I did the split and check the bottom and see if they're queen right. If they are, I'm going to pull one of these out and move it. A lot of bees. Lots of bees there. I would expect to find, I believe that's a drone right there. They've got walking around drones. So they're gonna have a lot of drone brood. They've probably got queen cups in here too. Goodness, this was a small hive coming out of winter. Okay, so last time I was in them, I reversed the second and third boxes to try to slow them down some, and they did have some cups, but they were all dry. So this used to be their middle box, and they're building cells for sure. Just saw one going in that cell. It's got to be feeding a larvae. They're too small to be swarming. Well, maybe they're not. I don't see anything in those. They are sure thinking about it. Let me open some of these up, see if they've actually got eggs or larvae in them. There's an egg. Yep. All right, so they've got eggs in queen cups. They're going to swarm. We're going to split them. I don't know if this will pick up or not, but there's actually an egg in the bottom of that one and the bottom of that one. And you can see bees tending these, checking on them. That's a really good indication that those cells are going to be wet or live. See this over here? They're tending these. So there'll probably be eggs or very small larvae in those as well. This was a super that I reversed, so there shouldn't be a ton of resources in here. They are putting in some queen cups. So I think what I'm going to do is to pull these two boxes off into a split. Give them an empty box that needs some work here. And put in the double screen. And then I'll come back in a week and see which half has got the queen. So this is one of the biggest hives I've ever had. It's just got a tremendous population. I split it 2 weeks, 15 days ago, somewhere in there. And on my last inspection, I noted that the top had the queen, which is what I would prefer because that bottom got stronger to make a emergency queen. So I need to check this bottom for queen right next week. But my concern with them is there were enough bees in here. This queen in the top could have recovered enough that she could still swarm out of here, even though she lost her field force. So I need to check them for strength. make sure that we're where we need to be, but no more than where we need to be. And they have got a tremendous population in here. Wouldn't surprise me to see queen cups. I do have a few. I don't see any tending behavior, so I bet they're dry. Yeah, we got some dry queen cups there. So what to do with them? I'm gonna stick a super on them, give them some room. This is gonna be tough to keep this hive from swarming. That queen is just, she is something else. Man, that's a good trait if you're wanting to go to almond pollination. You know, fast build up in the spring. If you're going to almond pollination, you need that. If you're wanting to shake packages after almond pollination, this is a really good trait. For my honey flows in May, I don't know. I think I want a little slower bee than this. Something a little easier to manage. It would not surprise me to find cells in this box or in this hive somewhere. Probably under that second box. Well, maybe under the top box. With this many cells, I don't think there's any chance I'm going to persuade them to not swarm. I really don't even think I need to check to see if those are wet or have eggs in them. They look pretty committed. Yeah, so we'll just go ahead and split them. I'm actually out of drawn honey supers now. I'm out of drawn comb, so I've made it into my partials. My box is full of partially drawn comb. Something that's hard to have too much of is drawn comb. Again, I put a box of partials down here. So I took a lot of resources away from the bottom because they're going to get a lot of fill bees back. And I've got the 2 boxes on top, which will depopulate. And that's my split. Come back on my next inspection, figure out where the queen's at. Wait 3 weeks. See if the queenless portion made a queen. And decide what to do from there. So guys, spring is all about swarm management. If you're trying to produce honey, if you're trying to make nukes, whatever, it's all about swarm management. And it is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It's not a 5K. It's a marathon. You'll have hives peak at different times and try to swarm at different times. So it's just something that you have to stay on top of, and that really means increased frequency of inspections. You need to be in your hives more often, just to know what's going on in each one and do what makes sense. You know, implement your strategy, whatever it may be. And it's just a busy time of year. This is probably the busiest time of year for beekeepers. After we get into a nectar flow, a major nectar flow, when we get into black locust and tulip poplar, the swarm impulse dramatically decreases, and you know, they go into honey production. Then you're just putting on boxes. I don't go into the brood nest a lot when we get into major honey production. And then after the summer solstice, which is late June typically, swarm impulse drops to almost nothing, and it gets a lot simpler at that time. So this is a busy time of year for inspections, real busy time of year for inspections. It's a good time though. It's not too cold, not too hot. It's beautiful. Bees are happy. It's fun. Guys, I hope this is helpful, especially for new beekeepers. I really hope it helps you. Knowing why you're doing what you're doing and when to do it are the hard things when you're starting out. And I really hope to help new beekeepers get over that hump. So appreciate you watching. I'll see you on the next one. Smoker's about to go out. Get these cameras turned off and I can get my work done about 3 times faster.